Hi everybody, welcome back to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen, I'm back. I'm going to show you today how to make this snowman cake. And this is cute and adorable and easy to do for all your winter themed whatever you need it for. And if you find this helpful, please like and subscribe. So here we go. Okay, to make the dome, I used a Pyrex bowl. You fill it halfway with batter and put it in your oven at 350 and put it in not preheated so that way the dish warms up with the oven. It won't break that way. As you can see, I took it out, I cut it up, I iced it. No big deal there. Okay, this is fondant. I'm going to show you guys a quick little easy way to do fondant. I use a little Crisco to grease the countertop. A lot of people use cornstarch or whatever. I find this works better because when you have color in your fondant and you add the cornstarch, it changes the look of it. It makes it kind of dusty looking. And so this is just how I do it. You know, I am not a professional, but this is what I do. So anyway, when you're working with white, and you have a dark color underneath, you make sure you leave it kind of thick because you don't want the dark of the chocolate icing showing through. And you lay it over, and when you press down on the sides, I lift up on the outside, you can see when I do it, and then press down against the cake on the inside. That way you tend to avoid those little ripples and everything like that. Again, this is just what I have figured out from doing it. I'm sure there's other tutorials out there showing you the professional way to do it. It's what I do. It works, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. There are lots of fancy tools out there you can buy to trim the edge. I use a pizza cutter just because that's what I have in my kitchen. You just go along the edge of the cake. You want to make sure that you do it to the side of the cake, not like right along the bottom, because you don't want it to be a little too short and then some of the icing and everything would show up underneath. That's especially important if you're not going to have a border around the bottom of the cake. This one is, so I don't stress it too much, but, you know, a little food for thought for you guys out there. And you got to make sure your cake plate looks nice and clean. It doesn't look good when it has fingerprints and smudges of icing or whatever. So all I'm doing is just cleaning up the outside. And again, because this is white fondant that I'm working with, if you get any of the chocolate icing on it, it's going to really show and really smudge up the look of it. And then it's just super annoying. All right, that tool that I'm always telling you guys is my Fondant Smoother. I'm actually using it to smooth fondant. Can you believe it? I know, all those times, right? Okay, yeah, I was just rubbing it all around, trying to smooth it out. The icing was a little bit lumpy because I had it in the fridge to cool and to set, and then I put the fondant on and realized I didn't show you guys how I did it. So I peeled it back off and then laid it on again. So that's why it was a little bit lumpier than it should have been. But anyway, you smooth it out, you press it down, you're good to go. Now we're getting back into my comfort zone, back with the gum paste. Okay, I'm going to make his little eyes right now. They're made out of coal, sort of. I just took some black gum paste and formed it into a shape and made it more flat than round because if it sticks out too far, it'll just fall off and that's no good. You want to make it look like it's kind of pressed into it. So that's what I did. And like I said, I made it into a shape because if they're supposed to be imitating the look of a rock or a piece of charcoal or something, they're not perfectly squared off or anything like that. So give it an asymmetrical shape. Yep, there's a little smudge I'm trying to get off there that I mentioned before. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. The one is more triangular, the other one is kind of more squared off. Either way, it works. And that one was a little too small because I realized when I put the second one on, it was bigger. So I just added some more, make it back into a shape, press it into place with a little water. Easy. Okay, this is the carrot. That is going to be his nose. It's just orange gum paste. I know the computer kind of looks weird. It's more yellowy sort of, but trust me, it actually is orange. And I just rolled it out with my fondant spreader, as you saw, which is back to being my gum paste roller. Stick it on a lollipop stick, shove it on down there. I held it up to his face just to make sure that it didn't look crazy long or too, you know, like not a carrot. So again, just using the fondant smoother, just roll it out a little bit just to make it look a little neater, a little tidier, not quite so lumpy and haggard. I'm using the back side of my knife to roll impression marks on it, just trying to give my carrot more of the carrot, you know, stereotypical rings that they have around them. So that's all I did there, and I'm just admiring my work and realizing I didn't quite line my lines up right. So there you go, that's better. All right, And once you get them in the way you want, I poked a hole in just to give myself a guide. Shove that thing on in there and boom, carrot. Yeah, there you go. Our little Frosty's coming to life here. Get it? See what I did there? Frosty, come to life. I made a pun. Anyway, there's a little black on his nose that I'm just taking off there. I mentioned it in my other videos too. If you did get something on the white, just wet your paintbrush, clean paintbrush with water, and rub it on there, wipe it off. It'll come right off, but it's just a pain to avoid if you can. This is going to be his little stone mouth. So once again, taking small pieces, turning them into shapes, and then pressing them into place. I did 3 on each side because I wasn't sure how far before I made the scarf, how low to the plate it would be or how much would show. So I did 3 just to be safe. Okay, and here we go making the scarf. I had a lot of blue and purple from a different cake I had worked on. So I made a blue and purple scarf. I just took the 2 colors, twisted them together, and then rolled them out nice and long and flat. So you try to get your thickness the same. That little rolling pin I'm using there, it has guides, little guard rubber band looking things that you put on the ends so that you can make a uniform thickness. I didn't bother because it was a volunteer cake. So if it's a more important cake for you guys, take the time to do it right. Otherwise, that was a little shortcut I did. Okay. Once I had my piece rolled out, I curled over the top and the bottom edges onto itself to try to give it, scarves don't have a flat, squared off edge. It's more rounded and soft. Try to make it look more like fabric. So that's what I'm doing right here, trying to get it more of that softer, rounder, fluffier look. So once you roll the top and bottom over, just wrap it around and make sure your 2 ends meet on one of the sides, because we want the knot on the scarf to be off to the side of his head and not right in the middle of his face, because there's already enough going on there. So give him a little detail to the side. Just trim off the edges. The scarf needs to be long enough just to basically meet each other's end. It doesn't have to go all the way around. You're not going to actually tie it. We're going to do a cheat knot that I will show you in just a moment. Make sure you like how it's sitting on his face. Adjust it if you need to. And you see how it kind of pooches out, I don't know, smooshes out a little bit here and there. That's good because it's supposed to look like a scarf. It's supposed to look more soft and fabricy. Okay, this is a piece of scrap. You roll it out, same thickness right about as your other pieces. Gonna cut out a big rectangle that's going to be the same width as the rest of the scarf. I've got 2 pieces there, the piece I'm working on right there, and there's one right under it, okay? So take a little thin piece, trim it, a little rectangle like that, trim off the edges, a little bit of water, adhere it to near the bottom, give yourself a little space. And that's going to become the edge of the scarf. And using my knife, I'm just cutting to make it look like, I don't know, yarn tassels or pieces hanging free. That kind of look, you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm smacking my lips now. Okay. So once you get that piece cut out, lay it however you'd like along the side. The shorter piece, I did it the same way as the other one. You can see there just the band across it and then cut up the tassels. That piece is going to fold up and over and cover everything. So don't worry about the other parts not connecting or tying together. That one little piece just finishes it all off. All right, this tool, I've talked about it before. I don't know what it's called. It makes a seam looking design. I'm using that seam design edge and just going over the entire scarf and making just tracks. And you don't have to crisscross them, just going in one direction works, just tracks. And you might have to press pretty hard, which is kind of what I'm doing here. Try to get around the top. Don't forget that one band. And then once you get those, you're going to start doing the scarf itself around the snowman's head. And I'm doing the sides, or the part that goes around him, more of an angle, where before it was pretty straight up and down. Do it however you want, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the pattern in there. As you can see, it really, really starts to give it a woven look. I don't know why or how. It's like magic or something. Here and there, throw in some really heavy, deep pressed in ones. You can see like here and there, I did a couple really deep ones. That changes the way it lays. It just really gives it a nice look. All right, now I'm making a couple little holly leaves that I'm going to stick on the side of his head. I rolled out some green, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch thick, something like that. And using that circle cutter, I just started cutting out some circles. You're going to have the two close together on the end and then one in the middle. And pick apart anything that doesn't come off by itself and pinch it together just to make the shape of the holly leaf, how it's kind of spiky. If you use a smaller circle than I did here, you could get more of those little edges in, or I don't know, pricker sides in. Whatever you think fits the look of what you're going for there. I just did 6 circles on each piece and it worked out just fine. So whatever works for you guys. Okay, you can really see clearly what I'm doing here. Just taking the edges out. And to make the little points, just pinch it. Yep, that's all I did, pinch it. And it's okay if you have a long end on the bottom, we'll take care of that later, so don't worry about that. I'm using the back handle of my little pokey tool, I think it is, or maybe the paintbrush, I'm not honestly sure. And I'm just making a line right down the center and then angled up and toward the little points of the leaf. Just gives it a little bit more of a design and detail, and it just makes it look more like a leaf and less than like a very pathetic starfish or something. I have green shimmer here that I'm using. Holly leaves typically are very shiny, so that's kind of what I'm going for here. I'm using my little paintbrush and a little bit of water. Mix the two together till you get, a nice tint. You don't want it too thick or heavy, but enough to make, an impression on it, basically. See what I'm doing there? I'm just turning my brush sideways. It's one of those, it's not a fan brush, I forget. Bob Ross would know. But anyway, it's that paintbrush. And I just went over those seams I made and then kind of flushed it a little bit with water. And now I'm just going over the whole thing and pulling out from where I made those heavy marks in the center and pulling it out over the entire leaf. You see what I did? You can see. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, and that way it'll make it kind of shimmery. It makes it a little bit darker in areas, gives it a little more detail, makes it look a little nicer. Okay, now I'm adding white shimmer. It's straight up white. It's not the ivory or pearl dust. It's white shimmer. And I'm coating it on pretty thick as I can. There you go. You can really see it kind of caking on there. I'm trying to give it the look of like frost or snow on top of it. That's my attempt of what I was going for here. So I went over the top edges of the holly leaves because those two sides are going to be on the top when I put them together. I'm using more of that pearl, or excuse me, not pearl, white, and going over his nose, going over his eyes. I'm going to go over the stones on his mouth. Add as much or as little as you want. It's all up to you. So just to make it look like he was outside in a little flurry. Once you get his eyes and nose, like I'm doing here, start adding to his scarf. It really stands out on the scarf. It's very pretty, actually. So however much you want. If you don't want it, just skip it completely. You don't need to do it. It's just another little detail you can add. And I know that like a lot of cake decorating stores, they sell the aerosol spray that makes like the edible shimmer that you don't have to use a paintbrush. You just spray it on like a spray paint. And I know they make white. In hindsight, I probably would have gone over the snowman's head by itself before I added any of the eyes or the nose when it was just white, so that he himself would look a little frosty and not just a matte white like he is right now. But c'est la vie, right? Live and learn. All right, back to the holly. I pressed them together. I wanted them to harden up, so that's why I put them to the side. I just took 3 red candies, pearl candies, and pressed them into place there while it was still soft. I put it to the side so it could dry. I had some snowflake decorations, stuck them on the cake plate just for kicks, and when the holly was ready, put it on the side of them, and there you go. Please check out my other videos. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.